The New Jersey Devils had a very busy offseason, and they should be significantly better next season. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my 2019-2020 expectations for the New Jersey Devils. This is a team that I'm pretty intrigued by. They obviously drafted Jack Hughes #1 overall, which is like franchise altering if he does come in and live up to the hype heading into next NHL season. They also acquired PK Subban via trade, and if he can have a bounce back year, that is another very solid blue liner on a blue line that is already pretty decent with guys like Andy Green, who is a solid shutdown guy, Damon Severson, Will Butcher, Sami Vatanen. The one question mark for me in this team is in goal, and how can Mackenzie Blackwood and Corey Schneider do as a tandem, and can they goaltend a team into the playoffs? That's the one question I have about the New Jersey Devils. But now let's get into looking at how they fared last season. After making the playoffs in the 2017-18 season, the New Jersey Devils had hopes of, building off of that and continuing to be a solid playoff team heading into this season, but it was much of the opposite. Taylor Hall being injured definitely didn't help. Jesper Bratt was injured a lot. Corey Schneider still couldn't find his game, but I think it honestly could have been a blessing in disguise, because now with Jack Hughes and some of the other acquisitions they made this offseason with guys like Wayne Simmons and PK Subban coming in, they are a much better team now than that team that did end up making the playoffs in the 2017-18 season. So I think that is a good thing that they had one down year and, kind of traded that in for getting Jack Hughes. This past season finished with a record of 31-41-10, 8th in the Metro, last in the division, and Paul Mary leading them in goals with 27 goals and leading point score with 50 as well, but that is just because Taylor Hall was injured. But if Hall was healthy, he most definitely would have been the leading scorer of the Devils. But now let's shift our focus to next season, and can this New Jersey team get back into the playoffs? In my opinion, they definitely have the talent to do so, but they're in a tough division. I think the Metro is gonna, make a name for itself as one of the better divisions in the league next year, because you could honestly make a case that all 8 teams in that division could potentially finish in the top 3, and I think that's going to make for some very, very exciting games towards the end of the season. And New Jersey is kind of on the bubble for me. I want to say they're going to make the playoffs, but then again, there are so many other teams in the Metro that I might trust a little bit more than New Jersey going from one of the worst teams to, a top team in the division just after 1 year. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it plays out, and that is a big reason why I'm so excited for this next NHL season, and definitely excited to see especially how the Metro division plays out and what teams really end up coming out of that division and making the playoffs. In my opinion, one of the big determining factors is going to be how good Jack Hughes will be right away, because if he can come in and, get some instant chemistry with Taylor Hall and maybe finish the year with 70 to 80 points, then this New Jersey team is going to be scary, because then you most likely have a first line center of Jack Hughes, and then that bumps Nico Hischier down to the second line, which is a role I think he would thrive in a little bit more than, being relied upon as a #1 guy. And then you'd have Travis Zajac as your third line center, and then maybe Pavel Zacha as your fourth line guy. That is a very, very good center group, and like I said, I think a lot of next season relies on Jack Hughes. I know that's kind of putting a lot of pressure on him right away, but that is why he was drafted #1 overall. Another big factor in if I think they can make the playoffs next season is, can PK Subban bounce back now with a fresh start? It wasn't the greatest year for him this past season, didn't stay healthy, didn't really have a great year defensively, and just wasn't the player that we're used to seeing. I know a lot of people call him overrated, but he still is a very, very good defenseman, and I think now with a fresh start, most likely getting that power play quarterback time, and he didn't really get that in Nashville because there was so many other good defensemen there, but now he's probably going to be relied upon most, get the most ice time out of all defensemen if I had to guess, and I think if Subban bounces back, it just makes this team that much more deadly. Now getting into my player stats predictions for the New Jersey Devils, and I'm going to continue to say this in every episode, this is hypothetical, this is just if they do all stay healthy for the full season. I know there's going to be injuries and stuff, but this is just kind of like their points per 82 games, you could call it. Leading the way, I obviously have Taylor Hall, 95 points. I think if he's on the ice for the full season, he can get back to that MVP form. Then I have Nico Hischier taking the next step and scoring 70 points. I think that would be huge for this New Jersey team, because Nico Hischier is a pretty reliable defensive centerman as well. And then I have Jack Hughes with 59 points, but I would not be surprised if that's up there around 60 to 70 points, because I just don't want to put too high hopes on him heading into the season, because then, I'll be disappointed if he only scores like 45, 50 points or 60 or something like that. So I still think 59 points for him would be very good. And then I have Kyle Palmieri, 53 points. A lot of people forget about him, but he is still very good and can be a guy that kind of flies under the radar and being an important player on this team. Then I have Jesper Bratt, 58 points. He was, headed towards a breakout season if he didn't get injured this past year. And then I have PK Subban with 53 points if he does play all 82, most likely because I think he's going to be the power play quarterback, and when you're back there, passing the puck to guys like Jack Hughes, Taylor Hall, Nico Hischier, or you have an amazing playmaker like Jack Hughes setting you up for that big one-timer, then I think PK Subban could definitely put up a lot of points next season, but to me, it's just a matter of how his overall game is with the Devils. Now, getting into my lineup predictions for the Devils heading into next season, and I know a lot of these are going to be wrong. This is kind of just putting guys in places, but a lot of it is, interchangeable. And just looking at this New Jersey Devils lineup, I think it's very intriguing, and there is a lot of different things that you could try. In my opinion, I have the first line being Taylor Hall, Jack Hughes, and Wayne Simmons, and a lot of people might be saying, oh, why wouldn't you have Jesper Bratt or Kyle Palmieri up there? I think having a big guy like Wayne Simmons who can bring that sandpaper and grit out there with, a rookie in Jack Hughes who's a little bit smaller in size and maybe can't protect himself, then I think that's a pretty smart move, and he could definitely have a bounce back year as well and put up a decent number of points playing with Hall and Hughes. Then I have Palmieri, Hischier, and Bratt. That is a very solid second line. You could even consider it like a 1A, 1B type thing with the first two lines in New Jersey. And then on the third line, I have Pavel Zacha move to the wing, and then Travis Zajac centering him and Blake Coleman. Now, Travis Zajac as your third line center, I think that is very, very good, and that's why I just think this lineup intrigues me so much, because there is depth. If Pavel Zacha can finally break out and be somewhat of the player they drafted him to be, that just makes this team that much better, and I'm a big fan of Blake Coleman. I think he's a very, very good role player. And then on the fourth line, I have Miles Wood with McLeod and Hayden. Now, McLeod and Hayden definitely might not make the team, depending on if some other guys, maybe a guy like Jesper Boqvist is ready to come over and play. You're seeing his highlights on the screen right now. But overall, just looking at this New Jersey Devils forward group, I think they're going to be a very good offensive team, and if everyone stays healthy, they definitely shouldn't have any problem creating some offense next season. Now, taking a look at my projected D pairings heading into next season for the Devils, I have Sami Vatanen with PK Subban, and I think that could be a pretty solid top pairing, especially when you have a line behind you of Andy Green and Damon Severson. I think Severson is pretty underrated, and we all know how steady and reliable Andy Green is. And then on the third pairing, I have Will Butcher with Connor Carrick, and I think if you have Will Butcher on your final D pairing, then you're doing just fine in terms of your defensive depth. But like I mentioned at the start of the video, the one thing that scares me about this New Jersey Devils team, and the one thing that makes me not so confident that they're just going to make that jump right back into the playoffs, is the goaltending of Corey Schneider and Mackenzie Blackwood. I mean, there was a point in time where Corey Schneider did not win a game in a calendar year, and that is definitely not something that they can rely on. But if Mackenzie Blackwood could come out and maybe have like a breakout season, I honestly think he could steal that starting spot from Corey Schneider, maybe even after the first couple of weeks. I think Schneider probably starts opening night, but like I said, I will not be surprised if Mackenzie Blackwood comes out and does well to start the season and just takes that number one spot right away from Corey Schneider. And I think if that happens and New Jersey can get some consistent and good, reliable goaltending throughout the season, they most definitely will be a playoff team, and I think they could really do some damage when they get there. And now, finishing off the video, giving you guys my final expectations for the New Jersey Devils next season. I have them finishing 5th in the Metro Division. I've said this in previous episodes. I'm not going to try to exactly predict their record anymore. I think that's a little bit dumb, and I'm never actually going to get them right. So yeah, I have New Jersey finishing 5th, and a lot of people might, think they should be higher, but for me, I just think that goaltending is such a big question mark that I can't put them ahead of some other teams that I think are more ready to win now than this New Jersey team is. Maybe they could go out there at the trade deadline or, a little bit into the season and try to make a move to really improve their goaltending situation. But, is there really any options out there that could make them that much better and put them over the edge? There's just so many other good teams in this division. You look at a team like the Washington Capitals, who are my pick to finish first, spoiler alert for when that video comes out, and then, Philadelphia, who's always a good team, even though they weren't last year. I think they are capable of, coming back and being a playoff team. The Pittsburgh Penguins, as long as they have Crosby and Malkin, they're going to be dangerous. Carolina just made the conference finals, and then you have teams like the New York Islanders, who were fantastic last season. Columbus, who, even though they did lose out on a lot of players in free agency, they still have a decent team and could surprise some people. So that's the only reason why I have New Jersey 5th. I'm not saying they're going to be a bad team. I just think they're going to play in a very, very tough division, and like I said multiple times in the video, I'm just really nervous to see how that goaltending situation plays out next season. So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy, and make sure to let me know down in the comment section, especially if you are a fan of the New Jersey Devils, what are your expectations for this team heading into next season? They made a lot of moves this offseason, and they definitely should be a pretty exciting team to watch. And also, let me know down in the comment section what teams you want me to do these type of videos on next. And once again, if you guys want me to do them on all 31 teams heading into next NHL season. And with that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. If you did, please make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.